been a minute. Let's visualize. Getting a bit technical now. It's not ugly, but it bothers me. I'm hoping it will be a deterrent. Add that autumn pop. Right. Hello and welcome back to another video, or welcome if you are new. My name is Nicola and I have a small home fragrance business that I run from my home in my kitchen, and I have a toddler and I have a baby. I am so chuffed to be here making this video finally. This has been some time in the making and has taken a lot longer than I had initially anticipated. For a little bit of background, this is part 2 of a market display glow up series thing, and it's just in time really. As a home fragrance and primarily candle business, obviously autumn is arriving imminently, so obviously there's part 1. Just as a brief background, I have been doing markets for a considerable amount of time and it's been fine. There was nothing particularly wrong with my setup, but I do think it had got a little bit, not stale, that seems a bit dramatic, but stale, no. Just I hadn't changed anything for a while, and I don't think anyone else would necessarily know that, especially if it's the first time you've seen me somewhere. You're not going to know that that's the same setup I had a year ago or 2 years ago. But I knew, and I think I got in a bit of a rut of going through the motions when I was setting up for a market, and this goes there and that goes there and that happens there. Thinking outside the box a little bit or mixing things up, getting a bit creative with it was sort of not a priority. So it needed to happen. It had started to get a little bit tired looking, and I, market after market, kept looking at my tester candles, which is what started this. So we'll start there. I have got a little list because it's been a minute since we started this. Obviously, do feel free to go back and watch part 1. It's very much the back end of things, so annoyingly not necessarily the instant glamour that I would have wanted, but it was the stuff that needed doing. So first thing I did was my Smell Me jars. Now I will try and insert some bits here. The first thing I did was my tester or Smell Me jars. I love them. I've always loved them. They get a lot of attention, they get a lot of engagement. People love popping the lids off, smelling all the different smells, and I did love the fact they were colourful. That being said, I had used frosted glass jars. This was to allow them to be colourful. All the candles and products that I make are quite colourful. I wanted to portray that, and the colours of the candles in the jars would match the larger version of what you're going to buy. Hopefully that makes sense. However, any of the candle makers will know clear glass, you do get glass adhesion issues. I don't know if it's issues, it's purely aesthetic. There's nothing wrong with it. But as wax cools, it shrinks. That's just what happens. So that's why you get sinkholes and things. You might see candle makers, and myself especially, my favourite part of it is to stab through a candle, find all the sinkholes, refill so that you get a smooth burn. What causes that is the wax pulling away from the wick as it cools. Getting a bit technical now, but what also happens is it will pull away from a jar. Obviously I make candle refills, so mine aren't in a jar, but if you were to just make or buy a candle that's just in a glass jar, you will probably find the outside, hopefully I've got some pictures of what I'm talking about because it's quite hard to explain, but where bits of it will pull away from the glass. And like I say, it is purely aesthetic. Absolutely nothing wrong with that whatsoever, but it's not ugly. It bothers me. So I don't use clear glass. I might use clear glass next year for something. Back to where I started was the frosted, what are they called? The frosted tester Smell Me candles were frosted, and I wanted them frosted so you could see the colours. However, glass adhesion issues had happened. Again, purely aesthetic. I usually try to put the label over where this had happened. I mean, people never commented on it. I don't think people really noticed or cared. It bothered me. Obviously, these are also sat out in the sun a lot, and being in a clear or frosted glass can cause discoloration. Not anything that you would necessarily notice at home, but obviously these have been sat there probably for a couple of years now. They were just losing their sparkle. My initial plan with this was to make it more aesthetic with everything else that was going on, clean them up, make it more minimal, and I put them in amber jars. I think I like it. I love how it looks. I have not had the best luck with markets over the summer. I'll link a video down below of me discussing that. Whether they have got the same attention, I don't know. I don't know if they blend a bit more now. The labels are nice and bright, and obviously the wax inside is nice and bright, so it certainly looks a lot cleaner. So I am happy with that. The second thing I did was business cards, admin, things like that. I design new business cards anyway, not just for markets, that was for the whole business. Along with thank you cards for the online side of the business, I also got a bunch of flyers and things for the market side of the business, which I did also film. So I will cut and insert that here. Jumping on here because my thank you flyers have arrived. I did order new business cards and thank you cards. And I also ordered some flyer versions for markets. So my thank you cards are here. Here's one I made earlier. Are quite big. They are cards. They're a little bit over the top, I would say, for market, especially if someone's not just buying wax melt. If someone's buying wax melts, this is probably bigger than the wax melt bag, if I'm honest. So it just seems a bit overkill, and they are more expensive. So I would prefer to save them for sort of online orders where I'm packing an order and putting my own touches on everything, as opposed to just at a market. I don't mean that to sound wrong, but at the market they go in a bag, and if I'm honest, a lot of the stuff in the bag probably does go in the bin. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that. Let me know, do you keep everything that you get in the bags when you go to markets? So I ordered an alternative version, which was a bit more market friendly. So they are cheaper, but they are also smaller and less thick and bulky. I've got a lot of them. This is just one pile. I've got a whole box. And they're like a flyer version. Oh, I've got a few there. So they're thin and glossy. I didn't do rounded corners because that does amp the price up. I don't think anyone cares. I don't know. Does anyone, another thing, let me know. Does anyone care about rounded corners? I like rounded corners, but yeah, either way. So design is pretty much the same on the back. Obviously this is a big thank you card, so that's the same. The only difference is on this side, I haven't left a big old gap to write on, A, because it is smaller, so I would struggle to get all of the information on there, and B, I think people would be really weirded out if I asked their name every time they bought from me at a market. So I thought that was unnecessary to do that. But yeah, super happy. So I've got a load of those to put in the bags and things at the market, and really like them. Just on that note, they did also send, basically, sorry, ducked out of nowhere. The first batch they sent, they had a manufacturing issue and misprinted, and the bottom half was pretty much non-existent. They were so helpful and so quick, I have to say. They did also then kind of mess up again, but like in a good way. So they sent me the same design on a really expensive hard postcard. They have since rectified this and sent me what I actually ordered, which is a lot of the flyers. But I do also now have a box of fancy ones. Shout out to Vistaprint, because customer service was absolutely top notch and really quick, really efficient, and yeah, really happy. Okay, and the last thing I did was a bit of painting and more physical stuff. So I did paint my shelf the night before a market. Again, it's one of those things that once I started, I didn't realise quite how bad it was, but that got a nice fresh coat of paint. I did have a bit of a dabble with some tablecloths and runners and things to see how that worked, and honestly, I didn't like it. It massively broke up. It broke up, I have a lot of black. It broke up the black, which is what I had intended it to do, and then I think it really took away from the colour of the products. Hopefully that makes sense. So I ended up taking that away back to black so that the products stood out themselves. What I didn't do, and what I still haven't done, is some little stickers of some description to go over the top of my diffuser bottles. This is an ongoing issue that I have. So I make diffuser refills, and despite having a bunch of tester miniatures on the front of the table, and where I can, politely asking people not to open the diffuser refill liquids because they are liquid, people still do it, and they get very messy because it's liquid. I mean, I understand why people are doing it. They want to smell it. I understand that. It is exactly the same scent as the candle and the wax melt. They are obviously solids. I would much prefer if people could just smell those. But yeah, without being rude to people, there's only so much control I have over those being opened and turning into a water feature. So my plan is to put some form of label running from the side of the bottle over the lid and down the other side. This is not in any way, shape or form a seal, but I'm hoping it will be a deterrent. That they might just think twice or maybe just ask, oh, can I open this? I haven't done that yet. I don't know why I'm procrastinating, but that's where I was up to. The last things I have done, the most important thing I have done that took me way too long to do was a top bar and a new sign. Now, this is done, however, it has not had its debut, which is irritating. My plan was to have a mess around with this at my local market at the weekend just gone. It's usually a bit quieter, and there's people that I know quite well, so they could have given me some probably very honest opinions and helped me muck about with it and things like that. However, it was not quiet. I am not complaining, but it was not quiet. And it was a great market. It's only 3.5 hours on a Saturday morning, but it was great. But I didn't have time to play with that. But it is done, which is good. And I did film it all, and I do have it here. So the plan, let's visualize. I bought a top bar. So I don't know where it is right now. Oh, it's there. That clamps onto the side of my table, goes up and over the top. So like a frame, basically. I've got some greenery things to wrap around it so that it all blends in with the table. And then I made, which we'll get onto in a minute, just a logo sign to hook over the top, right at the top. This is mainly for slightly larger events. I've noticed height is what I've been lacking. So a lot of stalls, as well as having obviously their lovely displays, they all go up. And that can sometimes be where I get a little bit swallowed. So a nice sort of almost just like a frame, I guess. And so that you can see the logo from a while away. I have had people looking for me at events before, and they can't find me eventually, but it was just a nice touch to finish that off. So it has not been debuted, but it's ready to go. So the signs are here. I did make them myself. Well, husband might have helped a little bit, but I'll put that little bit in now. I basically bought some wooden panels in a few different shapes because honestly I couldn't decide which ones to get, and then I painted them and got my husband to drill some holes. I really tried to help mark out the holes for this, and I don't know why I just completely forgot how to use a tape measure, or my brain for that matter, and I got really stressed about it, so I just kind of let him take over and gave him coffee as a thank you. So they had holes in, and then I used my Cricut to cut out some logos. I have done 2 signs because I could not decide which one I wanted. That would have been something I would have tested out on the local market on Saturday to see which one looked better. I think it's going to be one of those that the bigger the market, the bigger the sign. But yeah, I've got 2 options now. So that's where we are at. Okay, so here we are, so up close. So this is the larger one. Also some shameless plug on my business logo right now. And then this, I think for just like day to day, there is also some, I'm not sure where they are, but I've just got some metal hooks that I've actually used. I had them from macrame, hanging plants pot holder. And they had those hooks. They're a little bit like shower curtain hooks, I guess, but they're metal and they look a lot nicer. So I based it on those. So they will hang on those, and then I can use the same hooks for both of them and just go between the 2 and they're swing like a saloon door. Final thoughts. I would really, really love a new roller banner sign. I don't know what they're technically called, but one of those ones that pulls out, hook it up, 6 foot, 7 foot, whatever it is. I do have one, but it was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. And not in a wrong way, it's just how you picture things. There's a picture of me putting the refill in the candle, doing the deed, and it's massive. It's almost like life size because of how big the sign is. So I just found at events where I'm in a gazebo or something, it's okay because there's a lot of room, so it can kind of take the big picture. But at an event where it's just more of a table set up, so that would go just behind the table behind me or something, it's a lot. I had the odd person go, oh, I thought there was another person there, and that's fine, and it can be a conversation starter, but I was a bit conscious about it. I've had it where everyone's set up and then table next to me hasn't turned up or something like that, so they'll end up just being a great big gap. So it can be handy to just fill it to make things look a bit less weird. So I do take it with me, but I don't put it up. I have already designed a new, I need to look at it again because it was probably over a year ago now, but I have already designed a new one with a much smaller picture of me, and then more examples of the products that I make. But they're not cheap, and it's something I am putting off, and I know I'm putting it off, and I need to not put it off. And then obviously the last major thing, autumn is coming. Can you tell I'm excited? Where I'm at now is kind of a blank canvas, really. I've got the sort of base set up, leveled up, cleaned up, ready to go. And now I want to add some seasonal character. So the pumpkins, autumn leaves, the fairy lights. So that's sort of next, really. And I will film all of that because it's fun, right? That autumn pizzazz, and I can't wait. I also thought it'd be a good time to talk about any advice, I guess, for setting up if you're new to markets, where to start with a market setup, or if, like me, you've already got your market set up, but it's lost its spark a little bit. So I guess if you are starting from scratch and new to markets, there is a line. There's, on one side of it, you could go all out because branding is everything, or you're new to it, so you just do the minimum. Get yourself out there, get a table, just get started. You don't need to get fancy. Both are right. This is the thing. Both are correct, but there has to be a middle ground, I think, especially if you're new. Yes, you absolutely only need the bare minimum. You don't even need a table. A lot of places you can hire a table, and you just need some products. You just need some stuff to sell. And everyone will say that. You just need some stuff to sell and some change for a cash box. And that's right. However, how much success you have at a market may be limited. Visually, you need people to come over. Do you know what I mean? You need people to want to come and look at what you've got. And while you might have the most beautiful products in the world, if they're just on a bare table, you know. That being said, there is the extreme, the other way. If you spend all this money on all this fancy equipment and stands and decor, it's not really necessary. It's definitely finding a balance. I think the first thing I would say, you need a tablecloth. Get a tablecloth. And when I say a tablecloth, it doesn't have to be a fitted to a table market tablecloth that like comes in with everything like that. I use flat sheets, bed sheets. That way they will fit pretty much any table. I've got two. I've actually got a third spare one that's not as nice, but I've got two. They weren't expensive. I'm going to say £7 or £8, something like that. And I can overlap them to make a long table. I can use one to make a short table. Having a tablecloth that is the same colour scheme as your brand or what you want your brand to be is a start, is the best thing, rather than just a bare table, or at least a colour that's going to complement your products. If you make glass, having a really busy tablecloth is going to massively take away from the glass. You're just going to look straight through the glass at the tablecloth. So have something plain to make the glass stand out. So a tablecloth or a bed sheet. The second thing I would say, I was going to say business cards, but it doesn't have to be business cards. It just has to be a way for people to contact you. A lot of people might not necessarily buy on the day, so having an easy way for people to contact you, not having to handwrite your number or get them to remember something, it's vital. It doesn't have to be a business card. If you don't want to pay the money to order in bulk business cards, you can just print something off your computer, just a little flyer or something like that on an A4 piece of paper, cut it up, but make it easy, make it really easy for people to find you. The next thing, and the next debate, is going to be card machines. Now, you don't have to take card, but it does help. You will hinder yourself by not taking card. It's not the end of the world, but realistically, there are people who don't have cash, so you are going to lose sales. That being said, you don't have to spend a fortune on card machines and business accounts and whatever. There are easy ways to do it. You could try doing something through PayPal. If you've got a Shopify website, I'm pretty sure they already do some sort of point of sale thing. I personally use SumUp for no other reason than it's easy, it's convenient. I only found out the weekend because I left my card reader at home that I can also do tap to pay on iPhone. So I don't even need the card reader. But having that option is helpful, but just keep your costs down. Don't throw yourself into it, just do the minimum, the bare minimum. So that's kind of a good starting place. The next thing I would say is will probably help in terms of display is some form of height. So levels adds a bit of interest, means you can get more on the table rather than just spreading everything on a table. Again, does not have to be great big shelves that you found online that need building and propping up that are a lot of money. I have done it before where I've got a cardboard box and put it underneath the tablecloth so that it sits over the top. It's free. So yeah, get creative, find things you've already got in your home. I use a lot of plants or faux plants on my setup that I already had. They're IKEA faux plants. I already had some. I have since bought more. The last thing I would say is pricing. Make it very clear how much things are. Don't make people ask. They won't ask. Some people will, but the majority of people won't ask because they feel like if they engage in conversation asking about how much it is, they're going to feel like they have to buy it, and they don't want to feel pressured into that. So they just won't ask, which means they won't buy it. Have some nice simple colours, a little bit of height, and smile. And stand up if you can. I have seen it so many times, and I've experienced it myself where I've sat down, someone walks towards the table, so I stand up and they walk off. It's that motion, I think, of me standing up, they feel like they have to engage and it's all intimidating and they just panic and run away. So I actually just stand up all day. I find things to keep myself busy, whether it's stamping bags or cutting flyers, or so that I'm not just staring at people, but I'm stood up and I'm ready. And I find it makes such a difference. Obviously, if your legs get tired, sit down. That's where I would start, and then just build on it bit by bit. You'll notice things, or people will ask for things. You'll see things at other events, talk to the people, get some ideas. Don't copy, and just build it up bit by bit. Facebook Marketplace is a great place. Display shelves, things that you could even just stick a coat of paint on to make it the same colours as the rest of everything, and now you've got a new stand. But most importantly, make it yours. It's an extension of you. If you had a shop, what would it look like? Because that's your table for the day. So make it you. Whatever you like, whatever fits with your brand, that's what you should do. Gonna get deep. But then the next thing I said, like if anyone else is looking to upgrade a little bit or feeling like it's lost its spark a bit, I think just step back, take some photos. And then what I ended up doing was start one end of the table with a notepad, and I just went across and just was like, wow, I've got the wax melts are empty. No wonder, that they look terrible because there's nothing on there. My cake stand that I put my wax melter on, the base was broken, so it was propped against something else. No one else knows that, but I know that, and it was bothering me. The main shelf that I have all my candle refills on really needed a coat of paint. It's just a coat of paint, and I'd already got the paint. I'd already got a sample of black paint. It was a 10-minute job. So just take a step back. It's the little things. The little things make a difference, and honestly, you might think people don't necessarily notice them, but you'll notice them, so people will notice you. Does that make sense? It's getting a bit deep now, isn't it? All in all, I'm happy. I got there. It took a minute, but I got there in time for autumn winter. Next, add that autumn pop and get ready for Christmas. I'm not wishing it away, but I'm also wishing it away. And I think that's everything for now. Thank you for bearing with me on this. I know it's taken a bit longer than I had initially planned. As always, thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.